right, everybody, we are live. Welcome back, LinkedIn, to another Finance First series. Got Derrick here with me, got another special guest. We're going to make, again, April the month where we flood you with as much financial education, financial resources as possible. We know that this is something, the money conversation, the financial education and financial literacy conversation needs to happen with more of us, more of our children, more of the educators, right? People that are just involved in shaping the next generation. It's important for us to have this conversation. We want to keep bringing it to you all month of April. And thanks for everybody tuning in that's watching. Derrick, I'm going to pass it over to you so you can introduce our awesome guests today, and let's dive right into some talks.
All right, let's go. So today with us, we have Arindam Nag from Sensei. And what many of you might not know is that Sensei is one of Seedling's main partners. Sensei provides our education, foundational financial literacy content for our schools that we work with. And the crazy thing about working with Arindam is that after the TD Ameritrade event that I participated in, as soon as I stepped off the stage, someone came up to me with a card and said, "Hey, you guys, you need to connect with Sensei and Arindam. Here's their contact information. What you're doing is going to fit very well with what they're doing over there." And then that card just kind of sat in my backpack for about 3 or 4 months. And then I finally reached out, and man, we've been working together ever since then, and it's been a great partnership. So I'm very pleased to have Arindam on with us today. So Arindam, welcome.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
Very good. Thank you. Very nice to have you, both of us, talking to each other today. Chris, nice to meet you.
Absolutely. Likewise, Arindam. Thanks for joining.
All right, so Arindam, first question for you. Keep it simple, man. So what's your origin story? Like, who is Arindam Nag? In your own words.
I think it's a question I ask myself every morning.
Still trying to figure that
always
out. Right?
Reinventing.
I'm still going to figure it out. So I spent most of my life as a financial journalist. And I was born in the UK. I grew up in India and spent a lot of time, again, in the UK and in America. And I started my life as a reporter when I was 14 years old. I was writing for the local paper. And over time, I became a financial journalist. And then I worked for companies like Reuters, Dow Jones, Barron's, Wall Street Journal. And over time, I realized that, especially during the credit crisis, that while it was very fashionable to blame Wall Street for what was going on, but the real gap in the universe was lack of adequate financial literacy. And that became my kind of passion. So today, and my job is, I haven't even scratched the surface, but I get up in the morning with the belief that every human being has a human right to financial literacy. And that's me. That's what I'm doing day in and day out.
That's amazing.
I love it. Let me ask a quick question before you dive in there. Were you more into finance, Arindam, or more into journalism when you chose that?
Yeah, so I think I would say initially I was actually I was into journalism. I mean, I was a sports journalist initially. And then over time I became a political journalist when I was in India, and then I became a business journalist. And I realized that as the Berlin Wall fell, as the markets became globalized, I realized that a man or a woman's life actually was wrapped around economics of the nation, economics of the world. And if you can understand economics, explain it simply, you pretty much are able to explain to people, how they should be, living their lives. So I became more of a finance person much later on. I went back to business school, did my MBA in finance. I'm also a chartered alternative investment analyst. So it gives me a lot of intellectual, I would say, firepower to interpret what's going on in financial markets. You cannot de-link financial markets from people's retirement funds, for instance. So it is important for me to understand how financial markets worked. So I became a finance guy later, but originally I was a journalist.
Gotcha. Okay. Awesome. So, Arindam, one of the things I want to ask you about is Sensei. Like, how did you guys come up with that name, Sensei? What is Sensei? What do you guys do?
Yeah, so Sensei actually was a play on the Japanese word sensei, which actually means a teacher, and our solution teaches. But at the same time, we are not one of the solutions that you are forced to study and do a test and it's boring and esoteric. Our goal is to make finance fun. We want to make it engaging. When me and my co-founder, when we looked at the potential of building a platform, we actually did not know where to start. And the reason is we met over 1,000 people countrywide. We sat in classrooms, met parents, met teachers, met advisors. And the problem that came back to us was, look, we don't understand a lot of the stuff that's written on websites. It's boring and esoteric. And many of the millennials and young Generation Xers, they aren't going back to school again. So we have to bring them and organically get them engaged. So we focus on the engagement. So we do quizzes. We've just actually bought a company, we can announce it formally tomorrow, but we closed the deal day before yesterday. We've bought a trivia, one of the world's only financial trivia app. We bought it. And and it's actually, we are bringing gamification and finance together. We want to ensure that people are actually, they're having a laugh, they're getting entertained, but in the bargain, they're also learning about finance.
And I think that's so important what you mentioned, the gamification and the engagement. So for us working with students, that's definitely a challenge in the classroom, because our focus is middle and high school students, and trying to make sure that, we can keep them focused on those things. But what I like about what you guys provide, one of your slogans is that it's jargon free. You take out, because there's a lot of fear when it comes to learning about finance. And so is that something that you realize also? And so how do you, create that bridge for people to take that fear out?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, we help people to understand that your relationship with money is probably the longest relationship that you will have in your life. I'm talking about both relationships with animate objects and inanimate objects. People, they move from house to house, parents pass away, children leave home, but your relationship with money, that starts when you are, age 5 till age 85, approximately. And we saw that average American, he or she uses 33 financial products, starting from looking for your first checking account, ending with saving for your own funeral. And every product helps you with dealing with a pain point. And Sensei's role is to ensure that you are overcoming those pain points, understanding how to use a financial product, and effectively looking after your own financial wellness. So, which means you're budgeting well, saving well, spending money well, focusing well on your education. And then after you save enough money every month, you're able to use the savings in adequate wealth building, saving for your retirement. It's a whole ecosystem of financial wellness that we're talking about here. And that's what Sensei is trying to foster.
Love that.
That's huge. That's huge, Arindam. And I appreciate the work that you're doing. I'm curious, across the board, what age is Sensei really looking at helping and targeting?
Correct. So we are dominant in, I would say, teenagers, which is Generation Z, young millennials, and young Generation X. We are getting into the baby boomers as well. In fact, this year, as we generate more revenue and attract more capital, a big investment we are making actually is in the baby boomer population. But we are also going a little bit deeper. We are actually looking at various target groups. So we have 3 groups of people we cater to: schools, adult financial literacy we are getting into right now, and the third group is financial services. Why? Because we want to be where people actually are. So kids are in school, so we want to be in the schools, and that's where the Seedlyng partnership comes in. We want to be in the workplace. That's where adults are. So we are actually launching our courses in the workplace. And then people are also looking for financial knowledge on the banking websites and the credit and the advisor websites. So we are partnering with financial services firms as well, which is actually right now one of our main sources of revenue as we grow simultaneously our workplace and school business.
Very cool. So Arindam, could you tell our audience a little bit about your technology? Is it that if you want to learn more about how to manage your finances, do you just go to sensei.com? Like, tell us about the tech tools that you created.
Yeah, so we do have a consumer-facing website, sensei.com. We also, if a school wants to also access us, they can go to senseieducation.com, and they can access our content and our solutions through our learning management system, as well as through Seedlyng app as well. And for financial services firms, we have a product called Sensei One.
Okay.
And Sensei One, and we license our content as well. And then the third thing, which is the learning management system for adults, we have a solution called senseimyacademy.com, which again can be accessed from Centsai Education.
Cool.
And we are web-based. We have just acquired a couple of apps, Android and iOS, but that's mainly for trivia, for gamification, where we will put some content. But we are basically web-based that is highly responsive on mobile devices.
Yeah, I think that's going to be great. That gamification, trivia aspect of things, with all of the different apps that are out there right now, is going to help people stay engaged and hopefully, being able to learn something daily, quickly, and on the go. I love that.
Is that what, real quick, is that what you're seeing in the teenagers specifically, that demographic, like that school, that teenage demographic? Are you seeing them wanting to engage on the fun stuff? Is there a piece of information that they're really looking for? Like what's been the feedback on that?
So I always believe that there are a limited number of experiences that you have to fit yourself in. So today, the teenagers, they are focused on TikTok and Snapchat and social media. And if you are not able to give them that engagement, then you've kind of lost them. So what we are trying to do is ensure that our content is social media friendly. If it is social media friendly, if it is competitive, so that's why we've acquired this gamification company called Daily FinQ, and which comes with leaderboards. You can create groups. If you want to engage with them, those are the few ways you can. And we want to ensure that they are not being taken away from their current experiences with other solutions and trying to process something new that they may or may not like. So that's how Sensei has been creating content.
Got it. The content piece is huge, obviously, for that demographic. You said it 1,000%. I think that even scales up, right? Most of us spend our time on social. Look, we're on LinkedIn right now, right? So most of us spend our time in that place. And the thing that I've always seen, and that, the reason why, Derrick and I chose to do this is because we're still seeing like resistance, right? Like the pushback, the like, we can't get it in, or it's not. And really figuring out like, what does that child want? Like, what is that adolescent, right? That teenage child, what do they want? What is that young millennial, like, what are they looking for? What's that pain point? And then, gamification is one of those things, the engagement part of it. But I feel like there's another piece, and this is something, right? And I'm just throwing it out because we haven't been able to put our finger on it, on exactly like what that piece is. That's why we're kind of talking about this towards parents as well. Right, we're having this conversation of like, hey, listen, you might know that your child's interested in something, but like, do you know that these resources are available and you can get that to them instead of waiting on the institution?
And I think that's a very good observation. And I think one thing that we are looking at potentially this year is one of our partners. This is the partners that we have with on the adult space. We are looking at potentially having a 3-way partnership where you have the parents involved and the school involved and the students involved. And one thing that I would like to see, and we probably have to look at a couple of pilots first, is can we pick a time frame, let's say 90 days, and in 90 days you are focused on saving pocket money or managing your expenses, keeping track, and kind of distinguishing between needs and wants, and see how a group of people move together and allocate points, gamify the whole process. That's one thing that we're looking at. If a group of students can work together with their parents and teachers and almost have a pragmatic or / practical approach to financial wellness and see how it works. I don't know whether it's going to work or not, but it's one thing that I would like to see, because without engagement of parents and teachers simultaneously, kids do not necessarily embrace good habits.
Right. Let me throw this in too. I think it's a great point that you brought up, bringing in the community and then having that challenge available. I think one of the key aspect of that would be to have some type of reward available for the parents, for the kids, for actually engaging with the technology and actually doing it. And then something else that's crucial is actually monitoring their growth from the beginning of the pilot until the end. Because dealing with my students in the classroom, for example, every student isn't going to pass the exam. But what's very important is if we go back and we look at how that student grew. You grew 10%. No, you didn't. This time you made it. Last time you made a 50. This time you made a 60%. You actually grew. And I think that'll be important with that pilot also, to show the parents and the kids, hey, even though you didn't reach your goal, you actually grew. So I love that. That's a great idea, man. Very good.
Well, I think that another key is that I do want to find ways to introduce the concept of financial wellness or financial literacy is not just about saving well and budgeting, but it's also about managing your risk. Today we have pretty much at least a dozen platforms that I can think of. They are offering cryptocurrency as a currency for putting your money in. And then you also have the likes of Robinhoods, which is kind of almost instigating trading and more trading and more trading every day. But people forget that there are always bubbles coming in. Cryptocurrency today, no one knows how strong or how firm this can be as a currency alternative. When we look at the swings in the value of crypto, any crypto, they are pretty wild. So which means you could be a millionaire today, you could lose a lot of it tomorrow. And how do you manage the risks? So understanding risks, understanding bubbles, understanding the very essence of a value of an asset. That is important.
It is.
For anyone who wants to embrace good financial habits.
You're making the point that I always make, Arindam, is like our money is tied to our emotions.
Oh, right? Totally.
Key point.
Money's tied to our emotions.
Yeah.
When I think about this education system specifically, we're not teaching EQ. We're not teaching the emotional side of things. It's almost going to be even more difficult for people to learn their money if they don't understand their emotions, right? How to manage, because risk, right? It comes with the anxiety and the stress and those things. Who's teaching the kids how to manage that? Because if you understand how to manage that, you'll understand how to manage your money. You understand how to invest. You understand how to analyze something, right? It becomes this deep core like competency that the system has to figure out a way to adapt to and say, you know what, we might not have to teach all the IQ things anymore. However, this child needs to understand empathy, right? I don't know, kindness, right? Like some EQ things to then bring in some financial education and be like, hey, understand that this stuff is tied to your feelings, right? A lot of the stuff that you talk about in them that I talk about with adults, because I'm more on the adult side, helping them, helping the parents, and right, helping the teachers, right? Just understand their money. And what I've gotten to this conclusion of doing this, 9-10 years now, diving in, it's really just people know what they need to do, but they don't want to face the emotion that comes with doing that thing. Money is relatively simple, right? Mm-hmm. Spend less than you make, save and invest for the long haul, stay out of consumer debt. It's probably like that right there will probably take you really far, right?
Correct.
So the question is, why don't people do it? And the reason why is because putting yourself on a budget forces you to look at your money. If you don't like what you do with your money or how much money you make or where it goes, you're going to shy away from doing that thing. Even though you know it's simple, even though you have the resources to do it, it's this emotional thing. I think we got to teach children that side.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I think there are also a couple of other factors at play. Like today, the headline is how inflation rate is close to 8.5%, 9% because of oil prices. Now, when was the last time millennials faced an 8% inflation rate? The last time we had inflation rate was probably in the 1980s with that high inflation rate. So how do you deal with an inflation number like that? Like we have the summer vacations coming up. A lot of people will not be able to take the vacations that they wanted, number one. Number two, some people will be out of jobs. When there's high inflation, affordability becomes a factor. So some people will be out of jobs. Unemployment is going to rise. Number three is that property prices have been increasing in the last 2-3 years. And property prices today are at levels that have never been seen before. And there's very little correlation between the value of property and the salaries that people in that neighborhood are actually earning. So what happens is people have been told that the great American dream is owning your own home. People have also been told that if you don't achieve the great American dream at a certain age, you're a failure. Now, those kind of standards will have to change, because guess what? Today, the 35-year-old probably is struggling to come out of the parents' place.
Yeah.
So it's it is about, are you spending properly and budgeting properly? But B, you may have to think about your priorities in life. I would rather recommend someone putting away money. Let's say you have saved $50,000, put away money into a safe account where you're getting returns, rather than put money in a property in a neighborhood where property prices could fall 25% 3 years down the line. Now, this is where comes financial education in a slightly deeper level. So that's why financial literacy today is not just about savings and budgeting, but also general awareness of economic fundamentals.
That's right. And I 1,000% agree. And I often, again, say, we say similar things. It's how we package it, right? I say that there's levels to money. There's the 101, the 202, the 303. Sometimes you're taking 303 level information, but you're at 101, right? And so it doesn't necessarily apply. So totally. 100% true, right? Like just in that in that kind of interaction, that exchange, my brain was at a 101, the kid that doesn't understand anything about money, right? And you're at you got 50,000 saved, you're about to go buy a property, and you're trying to hit retirement or go vacation, right? But inflation and house cost, right? Those things. There's so many levels to this money conversation, this financial education conversation. That's why really segmenting down and saying, hey, right, baby boomers, I know you say you're getting into that demographic. Hey, this is the information you need, the awareness you need. It's different than the 17, 18-year-old that's about to transition into the working world. Well, you need a different level of knowledge, right? Same thing with parents. And so I think it's really us being able to tailor these messages and get the information to people.
Yeah,
exactly. Good stuff, guys. Wow. So, Arindam, I have my next question is, so what has been your biggest challenge as the CEO of Sensei, and how have you overcome that challenge?
Oh my goodness. How long is the string? I think, look, every day is a learning process for me. So when I look at, CEO's role, and I've never run a company before in my life. I have run departments or run teams, but this is the first time I have actually taken a product from a blank piece of paper into something that is tangible. People are buying it. I have people who are now working with me, and I do believe that we are on the cusp of something big.
I agree.
On that note, the biggest challenge for me has always been just positioning our product, positioning the concept of how valuable financial literacy is, and how you can actually partner with us. That has not been easy, because for a lot of people, and I've had senior level people at credit unions, banks say, look, we have never paid for financial education. We just don't know how it works. We Google headlines and we put them on the website. Some people say, oh, but we have some videos on YouTube. And so many people believe in what we do, and many people understand that you need a good, high quality financial education platform that maintains regulatory standards and content that you can take that will be compliant. But then many people feel that they could either do it themselves, and they end up actually failing. And we've had at least half a dozen clients who a year ago told us that they would not need us, but now they're coming back to us because they realize that they can't do it on their own.
Gotta love that, Arindam, right?
Yeah.
Gotta love that.
Yeah,
Yeah, on it back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Arindam, so they can't just go to you. They shouldn't just go to YouTube or TikTok and just get their financial information from there. Why not?
Yes. I wish it was easy. I think if I followed some of the people on YouTube and TikTok, I think the world would have been in a different place today. But I think overall the biggest challenge that I face every day is ensure that the team is motivated. I have the right skills. I have the right talent around me. Sometimes small issues come in the way. Am I pricing a product properly? Are we talking to enough people? Do we have the right marketing message? It all comes down, and we have some good people. So different days bring different challenges, but that's part of the beauty of running your own startup. It's exciting.
Love that. And I'm glad. Thank you for answering that question, because in our program at Seedlyng, entrepreneurship is something that's super important, is near and dear to my heart. So I love from our audience to be able to hear, that CEOs on your level go through things. You have challenges that you have to overcome. So thank you for sharing that. And so my next question would be, so what's your number one financial advice for our audience that you think is super important that everyone should be focused on right now?
I think the most important thing that I always tell people is, before you writing a check for any investment, understand how an asset makes money. And my big fear is a lot of people are probably going to lose a lot of money in cryptocurrency today. I have been I've been in financial journalism since almost the early 1990s. So I saw the Russian ruble crisis, the Thai baht crisis. I saw the stock market crisis that happened a few years ago. I saw the credit crisis. All crisis happens when a lot of money is pursuing a couple of single assets. And when an asset gets overpriced without any justification, that's when a bubble happens, and that's when people lose money. And my message to anyone is to ensure, before you are investing in anything, ensure that you understand what you're getting into. If you don't understand it, don't put your money in it. But make sure that you understand why the value of a particular asset goes up and why does it go down.
Love that. Education first, man. That's what I'm hearing. Educate yourself first before you make that move.
Yeah, that is the wisest advice, right? I give the exact same advice, because it's oftentimes too many people are putting money in places with a lottery mentality. Oh, I heard. Oh, I think I can hit it big. Oh, my cousin said. Oh, missing out because they're talking about it at work or school, right? That's where we get our financial habits. And we have to switch that and get solid financial foundation, a financial education. And just having this, how I explain to people, just having the habit of saving and then learning how to invest will help you become a better investor. You don't have to put money in. You just have to have the habit of saving it so you can get to a hefty 5-figure investment. Mm-hmm. And then you have to understand the asset classes and the places to invest the money. Yep. So if you study that stuff while you're building a savings habit, you'll actually get there, right? It doesn't have to be all at the same time.
Baby steps.
Education is the key, though. We got to educate people. So right there. Arindam, we appreciate having you, man. Tell the people where to find you. Tell the people how to get in touch with you or Sensei, right? Like, and what they need to do to.
Sure, yeah. I would strongly recommend anyone to go to Sensai.com. They can also find me on LinkedIn. Anyone who wants to reach out to me, they can reach me on Arindam@Sensai.com. I'm available on social media as well. And if anyone has any questions about Sensei or any question on finance or money, absolutely happy to help.
Good stuff.
That's
Love
awesome.
it. Thank you, Arindam, man.
Chris,
it's been a pleasure working with you. Looking forward to what's next with Seedlyng and Sensei.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.
That's right. Thanks, everybody, tuning in on LinkedIn. We're going to be back on Thursday with another guest, with somebody else that's giving you this, again, financial resources that are out there for you to take a hold of, for yourself, for your children, for the people around you. April is Financial Literacy Month, and we want to make sure that you are getting the financial education that you and your families deserve. So that's why we're doing this. We're getting all the resources, all the people that are out there. And now it's your job to take the information and go do something with it, guys. Go do something with it. So
really good.
Until Thursday, we'll be back. Enjoy you guys this week. Take care.
All right.